they've got 2 tables on each machine. So
Okay, so what we're looking at here is,
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Down and Dirty with the Badger State Pullers. Tonight we have a shop tour all the way from Cottage Grove, Wisconsin with Jason, Vinny. How's everybody doing tonight?
Mark Truden, what are you doing up here? I figured you'd be in Florida or something.
Joining
John, can you put Ross up so we can see him? He's right behind your name. There we go. Hey, Ross. How are you, buddy? Good. Hey, thanks for coming out and checking on us tonight. So, Greg, welcome to another edition of Down and Dirty with the Badger State Tractor Pullers. Thank you to you and John for all of your hosting, Chandler and Mackenzie for all their camera work behind the scenes. And so Merry Christmas to everybody. Hopefully everybody got a Pro Stock charger underneath the tree and they can go pulling this summer. So yeah, I'm all good to go. How are you, Greg?
Good. How are you doing, Jason?
Good. Mr. Vinny, how are you, sir? Good. Well, thank you very much for letting us come and tour your shop a couple of Saturdays ago. And last week, the Punky video was the second most watched video ever in our series of Down and Dirty, right behind the Fair Valley Performance Show. So I don't know, Vinny, if you can pay $20 off to some people. Tell someone. I know we got some people watching from Edgertucky. Can somebody please explain to me what Edgertucky is?
All right, let's keep the function.
Someone's got a whole bunch of background noise going on there.
Chandler, is that you?
All right,
Yeah.
Thank you. Take care. Have a good day.
Okay. You just want to mute yourself for a second, Chandler?
Yep. And then I've got the video ready when you guys are ready.
Okay.
So
We'll give you the thumbs up, okay? So Chandler's working down at the office. We got a bunch of stuff going on, getting ready for Shipshawana. So we had a team meeting down there this afternoon. So that was all the background noise there. Sorry about that. But Chandler's got his video queued up. Greg, John, why don't you guys kind of walk into this, and then we'll give Chandler the thumbs up, and then we'll play the video, and then we'll round up some questions there at the end. That's kind of what we did last time with Nick's video, right? Last week, John?
Yep. You want to
And
start?
at any time, we can hit pause.
Cool.
Chandler can hit pause, and we can talk about anything if you want as well. And then, Chandler, last week, did you guys just kind of flash up the comments on the screen and ask him at the end? Is that kind of what you did?
Yeah, that's what we did.
Okay, he's still muted, but he forgot he's muted. But that's all good. But that's fine. Does that work good for you, John?
So we took a trip over to the Vinnies. Greg and I did. We sat down with Donnie and Jason here, and Mark couldn't make it that day, but Mark's joining us tonight, and we had a nice sit-down chat. You know, the meat potatoes of the Down and Dirty, and it's a lot of fun, and I hope the fans really enjoy what we're doing.
John and Greg, you know, with your role as announcer and president and a longtime puller of the Badger State Tractor Pullers, what have these shop tours / Down and Dirty interviews taught you, Greg and John, about the pullers, about maybe what we need to be doing a better job with social media? I mean, I know we've been just doing this a couple of months, but what kind of feedback are you guys hearing? What have you learned? What ideas? I know you don't want to give out all your ideas, but let's talk about kind of how cool these have been, Greg.
I really think it's been cool. And as me as a wanting to get know somebody that I don't know and as a puller, that's what I'd like to see, what they do and how they, fund their tractor maybe, and what they do to, if they work at it themselves and what they, and get to know the people, right? This is, that's the biggest part of it. You get to know everybody, and you remember, oh yeah, that guy, they used to grow 50 acres of tobacco. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's cool.
Yeah.
John, what's been your biggest takeaway so far with the Down and Dirty shows, and then now with the shop tours?
I'm with Greg on that too. As we do this more and more, is learning more about the family side and who puts the things together and what makes them tick. But a couple of main things we've heard that resonates and kind of started at the banquet. Greg, correct me if I'm not wrong. Is family, friendship, and pulling.
Right, in that order too.
Yeah, family,
friendship before pulling.
Yep, it's just been it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun, and we're going to keep having fun. We hope that everybody's enjoying it with us as well.
One of the big things I think too is how a competitor will help another one to get out on the track if he's broke at the event. If you've got the part to get him out there, he'll do it. He might beat you out there, and you're all right with that out there. Nobody wants to beat somebody on the trailer.
Jason, did you get a chance to watch Nick's video last week?
I haven't yet. No, I haven't had a chance to do it. Had a sick kid
Yeah.
So
Holidays are busy. Mark, did you get a chance to watch it at all?
I just saw the very beginning, and I didn't watch the whole thing, but I'd like to still see it. But can I interject one thing? We're talking about family. You really know that it's family when you go 17 hours to a tractor pull in North Carolina. You don't do it just for the 35 seconds of tractor pulling. It's the friendships you make and the good times besides the pulling.
If everybody doesn't know who that is, that's Mark Truden. That's Jason's father-in-law, and he's a big part of Jason and his Super Farm tractor, and has been for years. And probably, honestly, besides Jason's dad, one of Jason's biggest fans and supporters. So Mark's a good guy. I always kind of know what's going on. I knew about Lemke's Kloss at Highland because of Mark before anybody else did. So I was pretty excited about that. So thank you, Mark. So, well, not before Elsine, because Elsine knows everything, but I think I had first dibs on that picture. So I was pretty pumped about that. So
Did you, is Dan not around, or brother Dan?
No, he actually had plans tonight, and he didn't even know that we were doing it tonight. I think he thought it was last week, and then he ended up making family plans tonight, so he couldn't make it tonight.
Yeah, they're making lefse.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, Norwegian thing.
Yeah, making lefse.
We eat a lot of lefse here too. Reber is our my mom's maiden name, so we got a lot of Norwegians in us too.
Yeah.
good deal.
What?
Well,
Right, Chloe?
thank you. Yeah, thank you for doing this again. Nick's video was really, really popular last week. I knew it, and this one is too. I can tell by the numbers as they continue to climb. If you're watching this right now, we got 133 people watching live last week. Right now, excuse me. We had over 200 last week for Nick's interview. Typically, we've been seeing a total Facebook reach of about 50 to 60,000 people for each one of these shows. And what that means is that's how many people's timelines that this show is going to be on. And then for those of you that maybe can't watch these live, you can go to Let's Grow Pulling on Spotify or iTunes, and it'll be titled Down and Dirty with the Badger State Tractor Pullers. And you can listen to the audio version of this. And at any time, you can go back to the Badger State Facebook page, the Beer Money YouTube, Beer Money Facebook as well. And you can watch these videos at any time for those of you that can't be here every single Monday night at 7 o'clock. And we've had a lot of compliments on the audio version of the podcast because a lot of people listen to it while they're farming or while they're at work the next day, or sometime into that week. So it's pretty cool that we have the technology now, and we're finally getting this together and putting this together. And we have a lot of Greg and John have a ton of ideas, and we're here to support him, Chandler and my team, to help get the videos and the audio and all the things we need from there. So Jason, Mark, thank you for taking the time and with your family last Saturday or a couple Saturdays ago now and doing this. John, Greg, is it okay if we roll the video and then we'll wrap it up at the end?
Yep. Go ahead.
Everybody, Chandler, mute everybody, okay?
All right, John, we're at Don Viney, Jason Viney, and Dan Viney's farm in Maryland. Viney, for a little early morning show here.
So
a little cold out.
A little chilly out here this morning, but yeah, visiting at the Viney Farm. So the Super Farm is here, all cranked up and cranking up. So we're here to go inside and check it out.
We'll see what they got going on, what they're building, and what the projects are. It's a pretty neat place. They do a lot of stuff here. We'd like to show you guys what they do. So thank you. We'll go on inside.
Well, here we are at the Viney Farm. We got Jason Viney with us and his dad Don Viney, and we're visiting the farm here this morning. A little chilly outside, but nice and warm in the shop. So thought we'd ask some questions and check things out. So the Viney Farm. So what do you guys do here? What do you raise for crops or livestock or?
Well, we got, what do we got for crops? We got about 1,900 acres of corn and beans and some wheat, and used to have tobacco, which I am more than thankful it's gone.
How many acres of tobacco did you have?
We had, last year, I think we had around 10. That was our last year, and that was enough. We had 35 at one time and did it all with family and it's too much work.
Yeah, especially when it's just the family, not extra help.
Yeah.
Too much work and not enough reward.
Yep. And we got about 100 head of not dairy, no way dairy, and beef cattle that we've had for 25 years or so now, and keeps us busy. It's enough.
Yep. We were missing Dan right now. He's got something going on. He couldn't make it today, but we'll talk well of him even to be here.
Yeah.
Don, how many generations are on the farm here?
My wife was born across the road on our other farm, and her parents were there after their parents. It was kind of family farm way back. I can't even tell you how far back it was, but they raised tobacco there for years and years and years. At one point they sold tobacco for 3 cents a pound years ago. It's hard to believe, but
Wow.
and now they're paying like $2.40 a pound. But tobacco around here through Edgerton and Stoughton area, it paid for a lot of farms, taxes, and actually paid a lot of bills on the farm. It was the main crop in our area here for a long, along with dairy, of course. But now there's no dairy. There isn't a dairy from Madison to Cambridge anymore.
Hinchleys?
Yeah, that's
the only one.
That's the only one. I mean, it's just farming's changed so much in our area. I'm sure same with you, and everything's different, and it's changing every day yet here, and nothing stays the same anymore. That's for sure.
But well, we'll walk around the shop here a little bit and show a couple projects you have going on here, and we'll get back to the pulling tractors. And other than the crops and stuff, you guys fix tractors up. Restore tractors.
We do a lot of restore, not so much the green ones. We do the green ones. We did one for Peter Norton out of Indiana last year, and it was a 4430 without a cab. It was a beautiful tractor, really nice tractor. And we send them any place they go from Indiana to Kansas and Missouri. We've done a lot of tractors. We've had a lot of guys buy 2-3 tractors from us over the years, and they're all a lot of restored tractors, a lot of tractors in the 60s, 70s, and 1026, 1206, mostly internationals. We've got a couple gold tractors, originals. They're 1456 gold with original paint on it. It's a beautiful tractor. We actually own the second 966 built.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
and
It never got sold at a dealership.
yeah,
Oh, really?
it's very interesting tractor. We've rebuilt it from one end to the other. It was all wore out. It was pretty rough.
How'd you get hold of that?
He just
Dumb luck.
Dumb luck.
Spend a lot of time on Craigslist.
Yeah.
Really?
we happened to find it by Racine. It was.
Down that way.
And we're like I say, we're in the process of restore. We're taking our time with it because it was the number 2 tractor made in a 966, and it is a hydro. It's not a gear drive. The first one was a gear drive, and no one seems to know where number 1 is. But this is number 2, and it's going to be quite a tractor when we're done with it. Pretty cool to own the second one made, you know.
Yeah. Only one person can say that.
Yeah.
Well, two maybe. Me and
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep.
I'll have to check that out. You guys get that done.
Yeah.
It'll be neat.
It is a pretty cool tractor. Like I say, we do everything: TAs, clutch, motors, and we stay busy. We don't do the tin work. We don't paint the tin anymore ourselves, but we do all the frames. We do all the cleanup. We get all the panels and everything for our painter ready. And we just did a 7210 Magnum tractor here not too long ago, and that went to a guy down by Janesville, and he bought a tractor from us about 6 years ago. And it just kind of one of those things where, sometimes they come around twice, and they're
it's.
I know what
they're getting.
I was here one time and Jason was welding up a door for an 86 series. And I thought, man, he's got a lot of patience if you can do that. Because you can't buy them parts, right? You can't even fixing it up. It actually turned out really nice when I seen it when it was done.
It is getting really hard to get parts for all this older stuff right now.
You can't find it in the junkyard anymore.
Yeah, we've junked them out over the past years here, and we've got a lot of parts of our own, and they get to be pretty valuable parts, but now it's getting to the point where our inventory is getting down a little bit too, and it's tough to.
So what you're saying is everybody's watching this, if they have parts around, you might be interested in them, right?
Stuff is tough.
Well, let's show a couple of the projects you got going on here. Tell us about them.
Oh, this is our 826, and it had a knock in it, and we can't find it. And we went through the motor, we pulled the oil pan off. The only thing we got left to pull off on the motor is the head to see if it's a wrist pin or a piston or something. But it's been a bugger. And then we actually had Chuck Genderberg over here the other night, and he says, well, what about the clutch? And then we got thinking, well, we got to do a TA on it anyhow, so we'll pull that off, look at that, and get it all apart. And the clutch and pressure plate were all worn out from the input shaft. And the input shaft, we've never seen it before. It had a big ring wore right around it. And we're thinking maybe now it's the clutch. And I guess we were just dumb when it comes to it, because we were looking in the wrong place maybe. But we'll find out in the next few days when we get the clutch and TA back in it and start over again.
Yeah, Chuck pulls with us at Badger State and PBL, of course, and he does trucks, a lot of semi trucks, and he works for Peterbilt in Madison, and he's a good friend. He's like my third son, I should say. Don't tell him I said that, but yeah, he's a great guy, awesome guy, and he just happened to mention, he's run into it before where the noise from a transmission can transfer through into the motor, and it can give you that little rattle at times, and that's kind of what we got, and we think we found it that way. And it's just one of those things, odd things, but no, Chuck's a great guy. He's really fun to pull with, and he enjoys Badger State too. He had a good year at Badger State. I think he had 2 or 3 wins in the Super Farm class with us this year, and we get along so good. He's a great guy. He's a wonderful man. Nice tractor. He's got a 3688. And it's fun to be with. I enjoy Badger State so much. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like to win just like anybody else. But to go and see, I've known Greg now since 1980, early 80s it was. And we met at a tractor pull down in Blatchfordville. And we shared parts that day. We each won that day. And yeah, they were giving me some grief on my tractor. I didn't have a part on it. I didn't have a PTO in the tractor. And Greg says, well, you want to rob mine? We'd have time to stick it back in. We swapped the PTO. I pulled, we put it back in his tractor, and away we went. They didn't like us that day, but I don't know what it was, but they were just,
Remember we pulled under a bridge there.
Yeah.
And I remember going down the track and I popped my head gasket that day right under this bridge, and the people on the bridge were spitting on me.
Yeah.
So
it was definitely a brush pull. And this was, like I said, I think it was 82 or something like that.
A long time ago.
It was fun. And that was the first time I ever met Greg, and we kind of, we hooked up there, and here we are.
Been friends ever since.
Yeah, we talk all the time. We're good friends. And like I say, I enjoy, we have some awfully good friends we pull with at Badger State. And I go to the pulls, and I enjoy seeing everyone. John does a really good job at the pulls of explaining things to the crowd about all the people, how we're all connected and what we do. And, a lot of times people just see a tractor going down the track. They don't know anything about the guy, but John does a great job of explaining, hey, they do this, they live here, and all the pullers. John can say a little more about that, but I really enjoy seeing everyone. When I go to the pull, sometimes we don't concentrate on the tractor like we should.
Yeah. Hey,
we're off talking. Hey, you're going to be pulling here pretty soon. It's like, oh yeah, I better get to work. It's that time. And we got Jason's father-in-law, Mark Triton. He goes with us to every pull too. And my son Dan, and like I say, we got a really good little group here. And then Punky Score lives right next door to us here, and he's a good friend. We share a lot of stuff. And as farming goes, he's a great neighbor. We get along just wonderful. I wish every neighbor was like Punky. And it's just, we live in a good area. Like I say, we got a lot of good friends, and a lot of them are with Badger State.
Yep.
Two of the things you said just coming here as we started talking that really resonated, I think, this year at the banquet is family and friends.
Yep.
It's almost like family first, friends second, and tractor pulling third, but it all comes together.
And it means a lot. It's fun. It's so enjoying. Like I say, I get excited to go to every pull. Whether you win or lose, you don't like to lose, but to see all the guys, and when stuff happens, we got a couple new pullers this year in our class. Next year, we're going to have a couple more the way it sounds. And our class seems to keep growing. Super Farm's been with Badger State since the beginning. And what year was that?
72.
Yeah.
72 or 74? 74.
74.
I'm sorry, 74.
Yeah,
Yep.
74.
Yep.
But Super Farm was one of the classes that really brought Badger State to the main line. It really pushed things forward that,
Another
that
club,
made it go.
another club in the country took credit for starting it. I was there when it started with the other club, our competition, and they touted up in their magazine that it was all them. But we've had Super Farm. Badger State's had Super Farm.
Well, it was Light Limited, Super Farm, and Pro Stock.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yep.
That's how it started. And you pulled twice a night, and
Yeah, 2 classes.
Yep.
Throwing 100-pound weights
Yep.
around. Till guys finally got tired of throwing weights
I
and
don't
said,
miss it.
one class.
Yep.
Look at that.
Sorry about that. That's Mike Jolly calling. So
Yeah, that's
yeah, no
another
money
one of our
winner
classmates,
competitions. Yeah.
Super Farm guy.
More friends and family.
Yeah.
Right, we're friends and family. Yep.
Yeah.
So
Another good guy. He joined the club 2 years ago, and just one of those guys that you want to
You
talk
learn
to,
a lot
you want to
from
have a
him.
beer with, and he's just a really nice guy. You can't have enough of those friends.
Nope.
yep.
Just like Scooter this year, I finally talked him into coming and pulling Super Farm I've been trying for 6-8 years to get him to come and pull with us. And this year he finally did, and it was fun. That was some of the most fun I've had tractor pulling. When he took off the line in Highland that night, I was all smiles that night.
All cranked up.
Yeah, I was all cranked up that night. I really was. It was fun having him finally come and pull with us.
Yeah.
It took me so long to do it, and I hope next year he comes and runs with us, but I don't know. He's kind of talking limited pro, I guess, but it is what it is. At least I tried. At least I got to pull him once.
Right. He did well too when he pulled.
He did.
Yeah.
He did. He was all worried about it. He was, I'm going to get my butt kicked. I'm going to have 50 foot put on me every pull and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And I know it was a brush pull, but he went up to Harrisville, I think it was, and he got a second and a first up there.
Yeah.
But he was going to get his butt kicked the whole year. And I think there was 16 tractors in both classes or something.
All good ones.
All good ones.
Yeah.
I know, like I said, it was a brush pull, but there were still good tractors.
Yep.
I mean, and it was a blast. I had a blast pulling against him this summer.
Yeah, and we wouldn't even know Scott Burkhardt if it wasn't for Badger State. We first met him when we got into Pro Farm, and
2006.
for the first time, and from day one they were those guys, Jerry Sasha, Nick Cunningham. They all, they were great. They were fun to be with, fun to be around, fun to pull with.
Too fun to be around.
Yeah, we had a few parties down there at Scooters along with Bill Smith. He was there too, and it was quite a group. But those are the kinds of things you remember. And it's just one of those. You were glad you were there. You're glad you didn't miss it. And
More
you wouldn't.
fun being around them guys instead of pulling against them.
Yeah.
It was more the attitude of you got to the pull and you didn't even care about pulling. I don't even remember Pro Farm hardly anymore because it was all them guys.
Yeah. Remember the memories you get. That's what you're going to remember.
Right.
You're going to remember the people.
And you guys started out farm pulling, then they kind of went to a hot farmish a little bit, brush pulling around, and then come the Pro Farm.
Yep.
How many years did you guys pull Pro Farm?
Oh,
4 years.
4 years.
4?
Yeah.
4 with Dan's and 2 with mine.
Yeah. And then
And then we went to Super Farm.
Danny won his first year out, and I think you won your first year out, and it was fun. I don't know, to not have Badger State in my life right now would be a lot different than what it is. With all the friends, it's just so amazing how we all talk, and like Greg's always said, we're a huge family, and we are. There's no doubt. It's sometimes you can pick your friends. You can't always pick your family. I hate to say that, but it's great.
Well, should we get back to the tractors here, the meat and potatoes while we're here?
Sure.
Get back there and look it over?
Sure.
All right, we're here with the meat and potatoes part of the program. And the first question I want to ask the Vinnies is, crank it up. How do we come up with crank it up?
It was one of them things where we're working around the shop, and I actually don't know how we ever
came about it.
I think we saw it on TV at a car race, and how they say crank it up. And
Crank it up.
I think that's how it became, and we just brought the name up, and and then we moved on to the second tractor, and that was all cranked up, and that, you made up that name.
I kinda helped out.
Thank you, Park.
Kind of helped out with that one on a Friday night after fish fry.
I think we had a few beers over that. John said, I said to John, I said, come up with a name. We sat there for a while and he came up with, how about all cranked up?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way it
That
was.
song was on the jukebox.
Yeah, Gretchen Wilson.
Yeah.
And we kind of, your mom was in, your mom, yeah, all jacked up, come on, and your mom was like, I don't know. And then after a while, later on in the night, I think you guys decided, that's it.
Yeah,
This
good
is
enough.
the name.
It's always friends and beer when you come up with your
Yeah.
name.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Beer always has something to do with it,
Right.
unfortunately.
Yes,
but-
we're having fellowship, Greg.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Fellowship.
Breaking bread, right?
Yes, we're breaking bread, yeah, and breading.
Yeah.
So there's where Team Crank evolved right there. So we're crank it up, and then it
Yeah.
turned into all cranked up. So we're all cranked up is still all together sitting back here, and cranking up is thoroughly tore apart.
Yeah,
Is it coming apart or going back together?
yeah, we gotta check the crankshaft on it this year, and we do it every other year, and it just, I mean, you know as well as anybody, it's a project, and if you don't get started in December, April and May and June comes along pretty fast. And
Push fast.
Spring.
You can't procrastinate anymore because you can't just go get parts from them.
No.
They've all got to be made, and everybody
Yeah.
seems a little different, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're,
It's
we're
time
actually
frame.
ahead of the game. We already got 7 new tires for Dan's, and usually that's,
Yeah.
come hauling season is when you finally get them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're cheap and easy to come by.
Yeah, definitely. 12,
Millions of
13
them sitting all
grand
over.
for a tire,
Yeah, we deal with Mark Hawthorne now,
Yep.
and Mark's been great.
Great.
He's been awesome. He's been so helpful. And
Well, and we kind of decided this year to start cutting tires. And Mark's like, yeah, I don't care. He goes, it's just less work for me. He goes, if you got any questions, just ask me and, I'll get you to it. And we've actually gave me a couple hot knife blades and went over some stuff and changed a few little things that I thought was better. I don't know if it was right, but
Must have worked.
it helped me a little bit. I mean, I can't say that it didn't. And it's one of those things that you're so scared to do something like that. But when you have somebody like Mark that's more than open to answer any questions that you have to doing it, you feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big thing to take a hot knife to a tire that costs $13,000 for a set of tires.
And you may wreck it.
And you may wreck them
Yeah.
real quick.
Right.
And that's always in the back of your mind. And I kind of picked up on it fairly quick, and it's not difficult work.
I'm not confident enough to do it myself.
I know, and I wasn't either. I was so scared to do it. And it's like, oh man, and he's like, yeah, just do it, and I got my own set of Firestones, so I started on them, and they turned out like crap. But then Dummer actually the set that Scooter put on, and he won one pole with them. I mean, I guess I couldn't have done too bad on my first set. So
It's I used to cut ours, get them cut once here, and I'd sharpen them.
yep,
And our tires, you're constantly sharpening them
Yep.
all the time, and it just got to a point where they are and where they're at. I had to stop because the lugs are so short on them, and
Mhm.
so I don't even mess with that anymore. I used to.
That was one of the big benefits for us too. Is if we can pop them off here, roll them over to the stand,
Yep.
sharpen them, put them back on. You're saving 3 days of work of traveling somewhere,
Yes.
waiting for them, getting them back, and if you want them for a pull in 3 days, you got a good chance of doing them yourself.
Yep.
But if you got to take them somewhere, they might not get done, and then you're running back up there to get them, and you're just putting them back on again.
And it's expensive.
And it's expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the sanders and the hot knife and stuff, it costs money, but if you sharpen, basically 2 sets of tires, you got everything paid for.
Yeah.
So what does it really cost you?
Right.
Yeah.
It's cheaper because this
Yeah.
is the time.
Yeah.
Right now, my tires are out in Ohio, and
Mm-hmm.
we're waiting to take a load out and bring a load back.
Right.
And if you don't, I've only got one set, so if you do that,
You're screwed.
you're screwed. They got to go.
Yep.
It's just the technology of it too, keeping up on it was the hardest part.
Yeah.
For me, just, you guys got 2 tractors and around, other guys that are, you keep in the groove of that a little bit more.
Right.
So it's just one of the equations I got rid of when I was doing it.
I've already been messing with a little bit on my set of tires with bar angle and
Yep.
how you can get into the corners differently. And
Yep.
I don't know. It's just, it's stuff that you pick up. I'm already probably way behind the times when it comes to cutting tires because,
Yep.
I don't know.
That's the thing,
anything.
the guys that cut them, the technology, and they try different
Yeah.
things. And,
Yep.
with having a customer base like that, they can get away with that. here, try this set, Greg, and Donnie, I want you to try this set. You guys pull together. We'll see what kind of works out a little better. And then we're going to go this route.
Yep.
It's research and development part. And yeah, as a puller, you're kind of watching that anyway.
Right. Right. You see somebody all of a sudden change tires, and all of a sudden, woof, they're out front. Yeah. Well, maybe that's what we should be looking at.
I screwed up. I said no.
Well, yours really though, when you did it a third of the way into the season, is about when you did it, or is it?
I think I got this set from Mark. Well, I was at Edmonton, so I think we had 2 or 3 pulls before that.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden you just took right off, so whatever you did worked.
Yeah.
Right?
This year I settled it.
That's what I remember.
Yeah. I went this year to tractor pulling with a totally different mindset. And I had talked about this, John, right almost at the start of the year. I said, I'm going to this pull to worry about this pull and only this pull. I didn't look at points almost all the way until the year long, except for one day. So we had a buddy over here and he got asking about points. And I said, I haven't looked at him all year. And then Dad comes up, he goes, oh yeah, he's blah, blah, blah. I'm like, Dad, come on. I didn't want to talk about it, And I'm like, oh, no, I'm jinxed, I'm screwed, and this and that. And I had a good year. I had a lucky year of needing to pull where I needed to pull. And I found the combination.
Everything worked.
Everything worked. And you're not always going to have them years.
No. Luck of the draw.
Yep.
So one of the other items of the program always is as good as your tractor is, as good as the sled is that we pull. We pull different sleds every year, and guys have their favorites, and you learn on everybody's sled.
Yep.
Because they're not the same.
No.
And then there's a little different setups, different tracks, so it's another equation to it. But what's one of the favorite sleds you guys like pulling on?
Well, we like that Iron Anchor Blue Key sled. I mean, I've loved that boat every year. That was one of my favorite places to go and pull is at Jefferson because we had mechanical mule.
Yeah. Tom Van Huysen did an awesome job.
Fantastic.
Years and years and years. He gives you a drawbar. He never lets go of you.
You know it's there.
And Tom ran that sled for how many years? And
25 years, I think. Before he retired there. He went with Fritz and all summer to help them out with that.
And I think they picked it up pretty quick too.
They did. Yeah, they did a great job.
I'm happy to see that more and more all the time. And
good guys to work with.
Yeah. That's good. I mean, you don't want to be a bad guy to work with because then they don't want to work with you.
You gotta work with you. I don't give a shit how good your stuff is. If you're no fun to work with, you gotta go.
And I mean, we pulled on Jimmy Lutke for
years. I mean, that was the boat that I pulled on first. I won at 13 years old, and that was the boat I was on.
Yeah, when I first started pulling, it was 1973, I think it was. It was the first time I pulled, and that was Jimmy Lutke's dad.
Lloyd.
And it's so different how pulling has evolved. I mean, it's just night and day. And I almost think that the people back then were more out to win and not have the fun that we have now.
I think it's just the culture we've built.
Yeah,
It's a culture that's come along with it.
It's just so awesome to see everybody now. And back then we were more into. Maybe I was younger, I was more competitive. I hate to use that word, but
I've gotten a little more lax over the last.
It is. You do because you realize that everybody you're pulling against can win. You can't go home and not sleep because you didn't win.
Well, we've got our class, our super farm class is incredible. Carl Kahn calls me all the time. Carl and I, we love talking, and Carl. Carl's as good a guy as there is. Scott Burkhart, but then we got the new guys in our class like Trip Downing and Paul Ludi.
Trip,
not Chip.
Yeah.
It's Chip now, though.
It is now,
Mike Jelly is great. And, we just, on and on. The Fritz brothers, I mean, Casey went through heck a year ago with cancer, and I'm glad he's doing so good again. And I mean, and Corey's always picking on me. I don't know why he's got to do that, but good guys. I mean, really good guys. And, half of what you talk about is what you're doing on the farm. I mean, it's not so much tractor pulling. It's like, I want to know what they're doing. And, we got some guys that we pull with at PPL and Mac Darnell, Mac's down in Northern Kentucky. He calls the other day. And Jason talks to Mike Sneffel all the time. And a lot of these guys, it's just, the pulling world it's a different world.
It is.
You'd never know those people if it wasn't for pulling.
Right.
You play them
And we're all in the same boat.
Yep.
Yep.
And we all get along. We all know what we're doing.
Yep.
Just get along, have fun.
Right.
I mean, it's more enjoyable to go to a pull when you sit and talk to people and you just put pulling on back burner. It makes pulling a little easier because you're not thinking about it so much.
Some nights we're first class.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, we got to rush, we got to hurry, we got to get pulling. And the great part about being the first class of the night is we can get our pulling done.
Enjoy the
And now the rest of the night I can grab a can of beer and I can go talk to Greg and I can go talk to Tom Gallitz and everybody else that we know. You know, it's just
Make the rounds.
yeah, it's fun and you really enjoy it. And
Just like this year at Maysville, we hauled you out to your announcing that night and you were first class.
Yeah.
And there were what, 6 classes out
Yeah.
there?
That's usually what happens if I ride with somebody. Your class will be first.
Yeah, probably.
Wait all night so we can take him home.
But it's not always a jinx. Sometimes it's better to be first.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did all right that night.
Yes, you
I
did.
can't complain.
Yep.
And I mean, we get done pulling, you know, and it's like, oh crap. Now what am I doing? Because I can't drink no beer because I got to drive a truck home.
Yeah,
Right?
semi home.
And then at about the end of the night, I'm like, hey John, you want to drive a truck home? He goes, well, I already had 2 beers. I'm like, oh crap.
Yeah.
You know, through the years of pulling, I don't think we've asked anybody this. And you basically started this with the family.
Yeah.
And then the boys come along, you know, as they're growing up. It went from, you know, brush pulling hot farm. You guys had the pro farm, you know, and then now both of them are in super farm. Family affair, pulling with the boys, it doesn't get any better. And you're a great driver as well. I'm sure you get the itch once in a while
Oh yeah,
to go in the seat.
I drove Dan's last year one time, but I haven't been on this one yet since it's been Magnet sheet metal and
Too scared to drive a bigger hood, I guess.
Yep.
yeah.
Can't see around.
But I mean, pulling gets in your blood and it's just, I mean, the funny thing is the first time I ever drove it was on an Oliver Super 88 and it was in Deerfield and I won that day and that was all it took, right?
Yep, you're hooked.
I was done. I mean, when are we going to the next pull?
Yep.
You know, and it all started there. And for years, we did farmer pulling and stuff until, you know, kind of when I ran into Greg.
Yep.
And, you know, Punky at the time, he moved on to, that's about the time Badger State was starting up and he moved on and we kept running the farmer stuff. And then we got into, you know, they put an association in kind of the brush pulls around here. And we had like 6, 7 pulls for pulling every year. And all of a sudden, you know, we went to see Robbie Lemke and we built a new motor and Robbie made it run.
I mean, he
Yeah.
built it out of Bob's garage. That
It
was
was-
one of the first motors Robbie ever made or built and sold for somebody was out of Bob's garage.
Yeah.
I mean, Bob ported the head with a Dremel by hand.
Yeah.
And that's the head that was copied up until about 2 years ago for Superfarm.
Yeah.
That's what they digitized Dan's old head that Bob did by hand. And they only flowed 20 CFM different all the way across the board.
Yeah.
And he did it by hand.
Good eye.
Bob is something else.
Bob and Robbie
The
are,
world
they're great. I mean, you know as well as anybody. I mean, Robbie's got how many motors in Badger State? I mean, at least half of them, yeah. I mean, and those guys are so helpful. You go over there, if you need something, Robbie's got it on the shelf. If he doesn't have it, hey, give me a day or two and I got it.
You made push rods on picking up after
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Long
I mean,
ride too.
Yeah. Well, that's
30
a great,
minutes.
yeah.
30 minutes away.
Less than a half hour and you're there. I mean, and that means a lot too. But they're always so helpful. I mean, we've basically never missed a hook at Badger State or PBL because we broke a crankshaft a couple of years ago. Jason did, and we happened to have a little break in there. And Robbie took care of us, and you know, it was one of those things where.
Well, we saw it was broke the day of the pull, or the day before. We're loading them up, and Dan goes, or he was shooting ether, and he goes, the balancer really looks like it's wobbling. I'm like, oh, it always looks like it's wobbling a little bit. And then I said, well, you hit the starter, and I was sitting there going like this. No, I'm like, yeah, it's broken.
Yeah.
And it was the day before we were going to Michigan. And I said, leave the thing parked in the corner. And my brother and Chuck ended up taking it, just bumping the boat both days. And I ended up second in points that year. I was 16. Yep. And I was 16 points out of first place.
Yeah,
at the end of the
Punky
year.
won that
Punky
year.
won that year.
If we could have just done something in those 2 hooks,
Yep.
but
That's pulling though. That is 100% fault.
That is.
I mean, but that's also the drive of keep going.
Yeah.
If you want to do it, you keep going. Otherwise, you might as well leave the thing at home.
They're gonna break. It's
Right.
winning.
Kind of like this summer, Don Salama he was running like a horse of fire, and I felt so bad. He broke down in Goshen, Indiana one night, and it just, you feel really bad when somebody's doing good and something happens. It's so.
I felt that way. I felt that way about Mike Jelly too.
Yeah, and Mike was the
bad
same way. Mike is a great guy, and he was doing so good and coming along and trying so hard, and when he broke, it's like, you feel really bad.
Because we've all been there.
Yeah.
We have. I mean, we were the first people to walk over to his trailer. Mike, if you need something, please tell us, because if we have it, we're going to give it to you.
Yep.
I want to beat you on the track or get beaten by you on the track.
Right.
I don't want to beat you when you're not even there.
Yeah, that's reality.
It takes all the fun out of it. And right down there, it was like my wind was gone out of my sails, because the guy that was running, chasing me in points at that time was gone.
So he was probably the guy you had to look out for.
Yeah, he was.
Even Trip
was too.
Trip was
And
pulling on the
Fritz
scale.
was too.
Trip was pulling on the scale up at Beaver Dam that night, and the next thing they know, they had ripped the aluminum rim on the inside from the
brake caliper.
Yep. And it's like, oh God, and then it bothers you, and
Yep. I'm so glad that didn't happen on the track.
That could have been way worse than what it was.
Yep.
Yeah, and Fritz Brothers had a good year.
They're going to show up every time.
Yeah, they are so consistent. They had a couple of hooks early at pulls, and it probably cost them, and where they had to rehook again, that boat wasn't set quite right, and that happens. I mean, we know that all happens.
It's part of the chess game in truck and tractor pulling.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I know it sucks when the boat guy misses the setup. But it's no different than when we go down the track and you got a way too light up front and you're going like this.
It's
no different.
Yeah.
It's a setup.
It's a judgment call.
Right.
It's your best educated guess.
Yeah.
Or uneducated.
Or
uneducated. Yeah. Whichever one.
Right. So that your favorite place to pull?
I love Hillsboro. Hillsboro, I mean, knock on wood. I don't like saying it out loud, but I've always done pretty well up there.
Yes.
You get up there and it's different. I mean, you go to a pull like that and Don's got this, it's a big Taj Mahal of everything. And you park on nice places to park and the people that are there. And it's just, and the track is 90% of the time, 95% of the time, whatever you want to say, is always a good track.
Yep.
It's a pulling track. And it's so much fun to go out there and pull because it's a good track. And I feel like I do well up there. And I love the place.
And it's a 2-day event, so you get a lot more visiting.
Yes, you do.
It's co-sanctioned.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, Don does a great job of running the pull.
Yes, he does.
There's nobody that runs a pull like Don Slum.
He runs a pretty stout.
Yeah.
Tight ship.
James does a great job on the track.
Yeah.
I mean, to the way them guys run around them tracks with them tractors.
Yeah.
I mean, the one year James started the damn tractor on fire.
Yeah.
I mean, it got so hot that it started the tractor on fire. I mean, that's how hard they push to make sure that
His
show is great.
His favorite tractor.
Yeah, it was 4430, right?
Yeah. But then they switched one out. He was rolling in a minute.
Yeah.
And watching them guys where I'm at announcing is almost, someone in the fine arts watching a ballet.
Yep.
They
do. They have ballet.
It's just like a choreographed dance.
Yep.
That them guys are
They
doing.
go down and one spins around here, the other one spins
And they're
around
tight.
here.
I mean, they're close to each other when they're doing that.
Yep.
And they realize up there too, the puller is the show.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they take care of you. We've been some other places where they're not.
Yeah.
And Don does a great job
He does.
taking care of the competitors.
Well, and Don does a great job with fans too.
Yes, he does.
He's really good as far as, this is the way I'd want to go to a pull and watch a pull. And
Good food and everything.
he's got food there. He's got beer there. He's got good seating there. I mean, he's got a huge crowd every year. It's just, and
he's getting bigger every year.
Yeah, he does a great job.
He's fought a lot of weather.
Yes, he has.
This year was a year of that too. Weather, this year it rained Friday night. Saturday morning, they got the track going. It turned out to be a good track.
Yep.
And they reworked it. we no more start pulling in the evening there and then
Yeah,
rain come in.
we weren't there this year, so I said, Chuck, I said, let's just go up and watch for once. He goes, I think that's a pretty good idea. We get up there and we watch about the half of the first class starts raining. I said, well, let's go, I guess. I mean, what are you going to do about it, And, I mean, but it's not just Hillsborough. I mean, Jefferson, that's one of my favorite places to pull. I mean, the grandstand every year
Maisel.
is packed from Maisel. I mean, they fill that ball. I mean, we have all sorts of places that are great tracks. And it's hard to say Hillsborough is my favorite, but it's always just been my favorite. But there's so many other ones that are right there at second place that the list is endless.
Yep. And the tracks our tracks are getting better. We're working with the pairs, I think, and that's really starting to show.
Yeah, Pat Hack's done a good job with working with some of these tracks going. Pat's another guy, he drives in our class on Carl Kahn's tractor, and Pat's a good guy too. Yep. And it just, I feel so lucky to pull in Super Farm because of all the people we pull with.
Yep.
I really enjoy everyone in our class, and I can't name all their names right now, but I mean, you could go on and on about the way you want to pull with people and the people you want to pull with. And I wouldn't change one thing. Like I say, Punky is our next door neighbor, and
he's as good as any of them. I mean,
And this is what we're trying to get at with Down and Dirty with the Badger State tractor pullers. And when we go to a pull and you see all cranked up and you see a fire suit and helmet in there, and I'm announcing and talking about Jason, trying to get the fans to know him and know the family. And this is our perfect example right here. Who's Donnie Viney? Who's Jason Viney? Who are the Vinnies? And what do they do, Let alone, what else do they do? Let alone, come into the pulls and they have a pulling tractor. Right. And this is the meat and potatoes, just like you said, of what it's all about.
A lot of people don't understand, we don't just go to the pull and pull.
Right.
We spend a lot of time in the shops.
Way more time in the shop.
A lot of the pulls are won right here.
Yeah.
This is where they're won. Yep.
And you don't realize how many hours that everyone puts into a tractor and the hours for the year to go and win that hook is great and everything, but if you got paid by the hour to do this, it's like,
like when we built our first pro farm, we did it in the shop and we got it done. We started on it. When we used to have tobacco, so we wouldn't be able to do anything until January working on the pulling tractors. And we basically built the pulling tractor, from January, February till the first pull. And you got it done. It was a lot of beer drinking involved, but at night. And but there's a lot of hours that you put in that. Everybody just sees tractor going on track. They don't see the hours prior to that.
But it also, when we built our first tractor, we had a lot of help from Al Wright and Tom Gallitz, and
they built their frame.
Yeah.
If you know Al Wright, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, Al's a good guy too. Yeah. And it just, and those guys, you can't say enough about how they all helped for everybody to get started in pulling and
helped in this and that.
Yeah, and everybody's always taking ideas from somebody else, and
making it work.
Yeah, you can't just go and buy a part and put it on the tractor and think it's going to work. We got a good example here of the two tractors. Actually, Danny's has probably got 50 more horse than that one did, and Danny didn't win a pull this year. Yep. So it was one of them years where he couldn't lock down. He didn't have a good set of tires, and
all the stars were in line.
Yeah, it is what it is. It runs great, but
everything's got to be right. You got to get the right hook position. There's so many things. A lot of
variables.
A lot of luck.
Oh, there is.
Right. Yeah, you can say the guy's great, but
totally different than circle track racing. You go hot lap, time in, run your heat, then you go to either feature or A main, B main, whatever dirt. You got one shot at this. You got one shot, one chance to do it. You basically had two shots within 75 feet, but you got one shot to get this done.
Yeah.
Let's touch on that just a touch here before we get closer to the end. Lemke's build your motors, but who else has helped you guys along the way? Whether it be vendors or parts or people.
Turbos, pumps.
Whatever.
Brandon Hart's Diesel has been, Brandon and Dustin down there in Missouri, they've been great. Yep. And those guys, we put pumps on last year from them, and they made a huge difference for our tractors also. And we've always tried to stay, you got to have the latest and greatest parts, because if you don't have them, it's tough.
It's hard to battle when you don't go to battle with something you should be battling.
Right. When you know you're just showing up to be a class filler, that's not fun.
No.
You know you're behind in something.
Unless you're there for beer.
Right.
Then it's okay.
It's okay. But
I mean,
nobody wants to do that.
No.
Everybody wants to win.
I mean, I know we talked about Mark Hawthorne, the tire thing, and I mean, that stuff's a big help too.
Yeah.
I mean, when you got all those little pieces that you can kind of finally start putting together, it does help.
Yep. And even like you said, these two tractors in the same house,
Yeah.
they're different.
They're completely different.
And even Tom Gallant says the same thing. He tries to build them exactly the same.
Yeah.
They're just not the same.
His are exactly the same. I mean, Dan's got a channel chassis. I got a tube chassis. I mean, our heads are different. Our cams are different. I mean, there's nothing alike.
You both drive a little different, probably.
We drive-
Little different philosophy.
We've taken parts, and the one guy we haven't talked about here yet is Kevin Inglechain. And Kevin, with his dyno, Kevin is, we'd be nowhere without Kevin.
Yeah, right.
And I mean,
Since day one, and
Kevin's incredible.
I mean, that's like everybody says, when Kevin says you're good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you might as well unhook it and go home.
And when he says that, you know you're running good.
Yep.
It's just the way Kevin is.
He won't ever tell you a number that anybody else has got.
Yeah.
I respect
that.
that. Yeah. I mean,
Yep.
that's,
Don't even ask. He'll tell you right
Yep.
first time you're there. Don't ask,
yeah,
because they probably don't remember the exact
Yep.
number, but
you're good.
we're gonna make this thing run as
Yep.
best as we can before you leave.
Or you're down there and you'll say, Kevin, I want to try this. I don't try that.
Yeah.
But he's told that before to me too,
Yeah.
but I put it on and it worked. He goes, I just can't believe that worked.
Right. And we've done that. We've taken parts off this one and put it on that one. And it doesn't work.
Yep.
And one year we went down there with, I think, was it yours or
It was
Dan's?
mine.
And everything that worked on Dan's, not one thing worked on Jason's track.
Oh, it was the other way around. Stuff that I tried on mine, everything that I put on, it was like 40 or 50 horse. Went all of it with Dan's to the dyno, and it all went backwards 40 horse. Tell me how that works. You know, I mean,
Used it up already.
Yep. I mean, like the year when we went to Louisville, and I couldn't make anything for Paul, nothing. And then we went and Chuck goes, well, come and try my head. And Chuck had the same head as Dan's. I put it on mine. It was 150 horse. Just like that.
That's something.
So did you buy a head like that then?
No, I still got my old head.
Chuck let us use it. And,
Yeah.
You know,
Give it back, yeah.
we share. Chuck's got parts on there from us, and we share stuff back and forth with him.
Well, you guys go to the Champions Tour with Chuck.
Yeah.
Haul each other.
Yeah.
A bunch, yeah.
And there's times you'll show up here, stop by in the evening, because I live a long ways away. And you'll see all three of them sitting in here.
Yeah. Well, most of the time in the summertime, like last summer, Chuck never even took his tractor home. It sat right here with ours all summer long. And he'd give me crap all the time. He goes, you got to stop checking my tractor over for me. He goes, I feel so guilty about you having to do it. I said, Chuck, it ain't no big deal. It's fuel and water, and you check this and check that. It's ready to go. It's no big deal.
It's good to go.
And it helps to go with another guy for the track.
Yeah.
It's biting better than I thought. It should have been higher gear.
Yeah.
Should have been a lower gear.
Absolutely.
It is.
Transfer that information.
It's been fun. I mean, over the years, having the three tractors together at times makes a big difference.
does.
And if you're later in the class, sometimes that's the place to be, and then you learn from the other two, and
It benefits you.
Yeah.
You look at it as a team.
Yep.
I mean, if you're not going to do it as a team, what's the point of having a team?
Right.
I mean, you got to work together, and if you run like crap first hook and you learn something and you don't go back and share it, there's no point to that. I mean, you got to, you have to. I mean, that's what you're there for, is to, you want one of your guys' tractors to win.
One of them in your trailer.
Exactly.
Yes. Yep.
And it's more fun when you got that to lean back on sometimes, you might say. And some nights you're the guinea pig and sometimes you're the beneficiary, you know? I mean, that's pulling.
I think we're getting close to our end here, so we better, right, Chandler?
Yep.
So,
Well, if you guys have any questions for Jason, Vinny, feel free to ask away right now while we got just a few minutes left here. I can pull them up in the comment section. There wasn't too many questions. Sean Boyd asked who the navigator was when traveling to PPL pulls. I don't know if that was just a joke.
That's a joke.
We're uncovering all of them today. Dirt and all. So what's that about?
Oh, they always rely on me on how to get there, and I like to take the scenic route sometimes. sometimes. And in a semi, that's not a good thing. No, not always.
Oh, yeah. We're uncovering deep, Greg. Going deep.
We are. Well, one question I got for you, Jason, are you going to stick around Badger State next year, or are you going to do the Champions Tour again? What's your plans?
Nope, I'm staying home again. I'm good with staying home. I'm not big on the traveling anymore and be gone for 5-6 days all the time. And wears you out. You're gone too much. You don't get nothing done around home, and it's just. And honestly, the guys at Badger State are just as much fun as the guys on the tour. So I might as well just stay right here and pull it home.
You have to your championship too, right?
Yeah, I got to try to defend that. Probably won't, but I got to at least try.
That's right. Well, that's good to hear. Appreciate that.
Was there really a team that had more success than Team Crank, or was there an earlier pulling team that had as much success?
I don't think.
Kelly?
Well,
Mike Kelly?
Yeah, Mike Jelly started out the year out of terror, and it was like, well, that's definitely the guy I'll be chasing all summer, which was fine with me. I didn't have a problem with chasing somebody. It makes it more fun that way. And I got through the year, and you take one pull at a time, and this year was clicking for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say that's successful. It's just I had a lucky year.
Well, that's his luck, though, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll take any kind of luck when it comes to tractor pulling. So.
Right. You have to have some luck. It's hard to do it on grit. You know what I mean? Some things you have to. Yeah.
Hey, Greg, the fun pulls for us this year, though, was going to Freeport, pulling the PPL guys, and Jason went in that. That was 25 of the best super farms in the country there. And we won that hook, and that was fun. That
right.
was.
That's usually a pretty good track. It takes pretty good power down there. You know, Freeport does. They build a good track there, and it's a good sled.
Yep.
Right.
It was a good pull this year. It was a good track down there. Jeff Becker's the one that does track down there. And every year, I mean, especially at night, that track is really good at night.
Yep.
That pulls right there.
Yep.
Was it a weed eater or a leaf blower?
It was a leaf blower this
Leaf
year.
blower,
Yep. Got a leaf blower. I think that was actually the first time I ever won at Freeport.
Yeah.
Picked a good night to do it.
Right.
But one of the tour boys was picking on me that day when we went to sign up, and he goes, "Yeah, it kind of sucks. You ain't running the tour this year, and you got to come up and pay to pull and this and that." And I said, "That's right, no big deal to me." And then after the pull, he goes, "Man, I'm glad that you ain't running the tour this year."
Yeah.
Oh, Josh Miley that said that to me. So
He told Jason to go back home.
yeah, he
Go back home.
told me to go back home. I did.
In a nice way.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Nice way.
Well, that's a good show of respect, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It is. So.
Yeah.
But any other questions on there, Chandler?
Nope, that was the last one.
That was the last one.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's about all we got, unless you guys got something else. John?
No, not at all. I'd like to thank these guys for coming over and visiting with us and jumping on with us, and thanks for letting us come to your shop and check things out. It was a lot of fun. So
Yeah,
It was a lot of fun.
I think you guys are getting off to a great start with what you guys got going on with this, and the shop tour thing, I think is a fantastic idea.
Thanks. We're having a lot of fun doing it, but it's a big commitment.
Yep. A lot of running.
2 or 3 in a day, it helps a lot.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think Friday I'm going to be going down to Kevin Engelke because we're taking our tractor down, and we'll be recording a show down there at his dyno service.
Yep.
Yeah. We got to get that dyno rear end dug out for you, Greg.
I'll be there in the morning, or Mason or I will be there in the morning to pick it up. So
Okay. We'll have it out.
So, well, thanks for coming on the show with us. I think it was a big success, and
Yep.
we'll be looking forward to the next one.
All right. We'll see you guys next Monday.
All right.
thanks, guys.